Welcome to the Roundtable. I'm your host, Jim Hicks, and we have a nice collection of college coaches tonight, and we're going to talk about the ins and outs of recruiting. And that's going to be the theme for tonight's show. A lot of stuff, so I'll tell you what you need to do. Whatever you're watching on TV, put it on pause. Get you a pen, 2 or 3 highlighters, because we're about to get right into it. And on the panel tonight, I have Jerome Tang of Baylor. I have Uric Malagi, SMU, and of course Alvin Brooks III, wish you a happy belated birthday anyway, of Kansas State. And of course this is our panel night, and we're going to get right into it, guys, in regards to recruiting. What is your favorite time of the year in regard to recruiting? It's year round nowadays. What's your favorite time? What's your favorite part?
The dead period. I get to stay home with my family.
That's a good one.
I like July, just simply because you see the best players compete against the best players in the best venues in the country. I think it's, a lot of guys, go from not being discovered to being a guy that, blossoms on the scene and, getting multiple opportunities. So I think it's always a fun time to kind of see, who blossoms, who rises to the occasion.
So the kid rises to the occasion. Is that good or bad for you that he's blossomed?
I think it could be both. I think, we try to do a really good job evaluating guys prior to July. So when we go to July, we're really not really evaluating. We're just really babysitting the guys that we really, really want. And so sometimes we hope that guys don't play as well. So more guys, more teams would, pursue that recruit. Other times, we may need to see a guy play a little bit more, and we may have not been sold on the guy. It just gives us another platform to really see him compete against the best and decide if he's going to be a fit for us or not.
What about Coach Brooks?
I would say around this time, September, because the period is a longer period. I love July, but in my opinion, I think July is just a small fragment of the high school career. So if you have a good July or a bad July, that can hurt you. You may be a good player. And I think high school season should be more valuable because it's over the long haul. There's more games. It's more organized sometimes because you got practice and you with the team more than July. So I think just seeing how a kid reacts to running on the track with their high school team, or we're not allowed to see the ins and outs of July. We don't get to see them on the court. We don't get to see practice, or we don't get to see them working hard behind the scenes. So I like this time.
Well, speaking of the ins and outs, why don't you explain to the audience in regard to break down the difference between the dead period, because you mentioned that's your favorite part, the evaluation period, and the contact period. So each one of y'all take one of those topics, evaluation period, contact period, dead period, and break it down and let us know what do they mean, and when do they transpire.
Well, from September from now until April is considered a recruiting period, actually. So where you can do evaluations and you can have contacts. With 2016s, you can have contacts with them on their campus when school is not in session. So it's either before school or after school. You can't have any classes going on. With 2015s, you can have contact with them on their campus or off their campus during this time, and you can always evaluate during their athletic period or open gym that takes place on their campus. And so that's a recruiting period that's running through this time from now until April. And I'll let somebody else talk about the evaluation.
So we got the evaluation and the dead period.
Their period is Coach Taney's favorite part of the league.
I'm surprised he didn't take it.
Yeah, I thought he would.
Well, I didn't want to monopolize
the
it.
dead period, you can't have any recruits on campus. We as coaches can't go off campus recruiting, but you can call individuals, call coaches, call prospects, and still communicate with them that way. But it's just pretty much they keep you at home. You can have physical contact with the recruits, whether they come on campus or we go off campus.
And what about the evaluation?
Did you take the evaluation or not?
No, I did the
Quiet
contact.
period.
Just
Quiet.
quiet.
Quiet period is basically you can't go off campus to see recruits, but they can come on campus and visit. So quiet period basically means they can come visit us, but we can't visit them.
So you have the quiet period, the dead period, and the recruiting period. Now it's been rephrased to be, we used to slang it as the
Well, there used to be a contest,
So
there
the
used to be an
evaluation
evaluation.
period.
July
Yeah.
is really the only evaluation
Yeah,
period.
yeah, now
In July and then, in April, when you have the 2 weeks that you can go out, it's just strictly for evaluation.
Now, speaking of those, now we're gonna elaborate on those 3 topics right now. During the recruiting period, as a coach, what are you guys doing? What are your preparation? What transpires on your side of the fence? What is your day to day? Just take us through an average day during the recruiting period, like as hypothetically.
I mean, my day started at midnight.
What are you doing?
On the absolute first day you could be out, started at midnight, and then, rolled on from there. You're trying to see the kids who are priority for you as much as possible and as early as possible as you roll along. And, everything is a little bit different in the recruiting period. Everybody handles it a little differently. And so, right now, Al said he likes this time of year. I really like this time of year. If you're talking about when I leave, I really like this time of year because, and kids should like this time of year because they can identify who is really interested in them or not. Because this is a hunting period. All right, and everybody's hunting somewhere. Everybody's got their guns aimed at something and shooting something right now. So if they're not shooting you right now, that means they out shooting somebody else. And so this is the time where you really get to let the kids know how serious you are, and they get to find out how serious you are about it.
And so now, and during the dead period, what are you guys doing on campus generally? What is the college coaches in general doing on campus? Because you're not just sitting there going into the office and that's it. You're still working.
No, we're constantly for us and our staff, we're constantly in communication with the prospect, with his parents, with his AE coaches, high school coaches, individual workout guys, and those that are, we consider the champions, the people that, maybe other coaches wouldn't be recruiting, those individuals that may be closely, I guess we call it NCAA refers to them as the individual associated with the prospect. Those individuals, we try to have as much communication with those people as we can, so let them know our interest in what we understand.
And in regards to the quiet period, what does the college coach generally, from your end, what are you doing? Recruits can come on your campus, but you can't leave off. So basically, you guys are doing what?
Biggest thing is quiet period is when majority of, they may have a bigger advantage as far as having more unofficial visits from us because they're closer to a lot more prospects. So in our case, we try to find prospects that are closer to us, but at the same time, we're just trying to build relationships to try to bring them on an official visit later on in the year.
So on top of that, are you still doing the stuff that they would do during the dead period as well? You doing that plus that to get them on campus, or that's it, just focusing on the relationships and getting the kids on campus?
Relationships, especially with me, because most of the prospects are Texas. So I'm in Kansas, and it's unrealistic to ask a kid to pay for their own flights or their own everything to get to Kansas. So biggest thing is just building relationships, staying in contact with them. So, and that's the biggest thing for us.
So speaking of the visits, we get into official visits and unofficial visits. And elaborate the difference between the two and the ins and outs of the visit phase for the prospects in general.
Official visits is where we can pay for the prospect and the prospect parents. We can pay for the flight, we can pay for the food once they get on campus, we can pay for the hotel, and we can pay for the prospect, the entertainment part after with the players, wherever they host is. So it's pretty much where we can pay for everything. I think it's a huge advantage for us compared to the girls by being able to pay for the parents because they're able to see who they're leaving their son with.
And
Just to piggyback off what Coach Brooks is saying, we're in Dallas, and it's a lot of prospects right around our radius, not in a 30-mile radius from our campus. And a lot of parents struggle with, because our proximity is so close, they think that they should just come on an unofficial visit, but we're at a huge disadvantage if they come on an unofficial versus an official. We get 12 official visits at an institution. Each prospect gets 5, so it's a commitment both ways. You know, we show that individual, even if they're 5 minutes away from campus, that you're that valuable to us. We want to offer you one of our 12 official visits, and we want to be one of your 5 official visits. And you get a chance to really get to know us as coaches in 48 hours. Get to spend a lot of time with our players. Get a chance to meet a lot of important people on campus to really decide that this is the place that you need to spend the next 4 years of your life. So versus an unofficial visit where they may come up for 3 or 4 hours and maybe meet with coach, meet a couple players that come in and out of office.
And so who gets to determine? And how does that process go, like in the back room or in the meeting room? Who determines when you're going to bring a guy on a particular visit for a weekend and who you're going to bring?
We meet we meet as a staff. I guess ultimately the kids and their parents determine. It's a lot of kids we love to come on our official visit, but some of them tell us no. The ones that we're able to get, and we like to bring guys that we as a staff have all 4 of us, the head coach and the 3 assistants agree are the guys at particular positions that we want to bring on campus. Those are the guys that are most important to our program and feel a specific need. We want to try to get those guys on campus right away.
So what if 2 guys want to come and they try to tell you what weekend they want to come on? They're looking, you're saying the recruits. So they look at their schedule and they got families, the fall, September, Labor Day, sometimes up in that, those months, a lot of people do family reunions, schools just starting, I know, but a lot of people have things going on. So what do they say, I want to come on this weekend, and then you really want John Doe to come on this weekend?
Well, I think that boils down to prioritizing. When you are going to the prom, you're gonna ask the girl you really want to go with first.
I was scared to ask.
and then you're gonna go that second. You're not gonna ask that second one to come to the prom first, because she might say yes, and you never get to ask the first one. So we like to do the asking first. And we bring in who we want first, and then we bring in, and that's just, nobody asks their 3rd choice first. You ask your 1st choice first. That's what happens. But and about bringing 2 kids at the same, I think it's just up to the staff. There's sometimes you want to bring both kids in that you want at the same time, even if they play the same position, so they feel a little heat. That, man, I got to make a decision, because nobody makes a decision until you make them make a decision.
So have you been in a situation before, or have you heard of a situation before where 2 players at the same position on the same official visit, and the coach say, okay, first one commit, that's who we're going with?
Oh yeah. Yes.
So that's not a bluff when you say that?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Have a kid ever called you bluff and you really wanted player number 1?
You don't bluff the one you don't want.
Hey, I'll say I've never been a part of it, but I've heard of staffs in the state, this state of Texas, that have done that. Previous staffs, and it's worked for them.
Have you ever heard of a backfire and they got behind what's doing number 2?
You know what? I don't know, because I think they were prepared to take whoever they could get.
Okay.
I think it's I think if you do that, you're okay with either one of them.
Okay.
And so you're saying, all right, let's go. Somebody's gonna make a decision today, and I'm happy with whichever one we get.
So that's a good thing. So now, Coach Brooks, what grade do you generally start recruiting the guys?
Me personally, I'm a little different. They're a little more advanced than me. I'm trying to catch up with them, but I'm just starting to mess with 9th graders a little bit, and 10th graders a little bit, but I normally focus on the guys that's going to be seniors, and then when they're juniors a little bit, but now it's at the stage to where I'm getting more comfortable. I kept coming from Sam Houston, I ain't have to do that, but now I'm at Kansas State, there's more value that I have to start hitting kids early to try to get them to remember.
Well, I can tell one thing. We want to pause on that note. I can tell that Coach Malachi and the pain, they're rubbing their hands, licking their chops. They can't wait to answer that question. So we'll bring it back and resume this topic when we come back with more of the round table.
The best? I don't want to talk about who's the best. I want to talk about who's the baddest.
We talking about Artis Gilmore, Spencer Haywood, David Thompson, hey, Hawkins bad.
That's bad.
Kevin Durant.
Maybe he'll come on the court all quiet and then flat out destroy you.
Youngest player ever to lead the league in scoring.
He's got two guys draped on him.
Dropping threes on you.
Score 50 without breaking a sweat.
Pass, dunk, hurt his ankle, come back, dunk on you again.
When you make other guys look bad, it makes you mad.
You can't check KD.
He's on your mama's mama. He's a monster, man.
He's a mutant, bro.
Gift from the basketball gods.
He's a bad man.
Not bad meaning bad, but bad meaning good. You know the saying.
Bad like me.
Bad like money.
Bad like black coffee.
Bad like a good Thanksgiving meal.
Bad like bubblegum.
Karate flips.
Like a sea monster. Panther.
Like a hailstorm.
Case closed.
Welcome back to the round table, and of course I'm your host Jim Hicks, and I am joined with my panel of college coaches. Jerome Tang of Baylor, Eric Malady from SMU, Alvin Brooks III from Kansas State. And we are in the process of talking about the wonderful world of recruiting. It's that time of year, guys, and everybody knows that it's fun for most, and it really, I think, me personally, I think that it brings a lot of stuff to light in regards to that. Now, we were talking with you, Coach Brooks, about what age that you actually start, what grade you start recruiting the players at. You mentioned the 9th grade. I'm just curious. At that time, these coaches, they start rubbing their hands. Or, so then what about you guys?
Well, I offered AB the 4th already.
That makes two of us.
Hey, they come from good genes, you just go ahead and get on. Can't mess with DNA right there.
So speaking of that topic, just a week ago, on the girls' side of the fence, one of the coaches, I think from UConn, had got, got a little heat because he phoned the young lady from the Little League Baseball, Little League World Series, and she's going into the 7th grade. Now, that's right into the gray area. How do you guys feel about that point? When you're going to that? That's something, I'm not, I guess, I'm going to tell you how I feel about it. I think that,
You go ahead and answer this.
I think that she hadn't technically started the 7th grade yet. And I thought that my impression of the rule was 7th grade that started as recruits. Now, I could be wrong on that, but if that is the rule in 7th grade, she hadn't technically started yet in 7th grade. The Little League World Series ends before school starts. So that was on my only beef too. That was just an interesting thing about that. Now, in regard to recruiting, when you see a prospect in the Alvin Brooks before that you offered already, what are you looking at? What are you looking for? Tell us that. That's because a lot of people get some things construed, and there are different strokes for different folks in regard to their eyeballs. So tell us some of the things that you're looking for the very first time that you're going to see, let's say, a prospect that you know about.
Well, for me personally, we have certain morals and values that we like to pride ourselves in. As a program, we want guys that, number one, are great, great students, high character kids. But winning is important. That has to be a priority more than their individual accomplishments. Winning and wanting to come in and help us win a national championship has to be number one. And then from there, we'll do our research to try to find out what kind of kid they really are off the court. If there would be a guy that's going to be, we like to try to get low character kids. We're not have to worry about going to class. And then and when it comes to practice, we like guys that already are wound up. We don't want to beg guys to play hard. We just want to coach execution. We don't want to coach effort. And so we want guys that want to come to practice every single day that are going to be everyday guys. And we try to work hard to try to find those guys, not necessarily the most highly rated guy. So
now when guys get on campus, your freshmen, your college guys, your team, what percentage of those guys generally go through that phase, or how long does it normally take for they go to that, man, I'm ready to go home phase, I miss home phase, you gotta go and start turning into babysitting. You know, talking about just your team, not prospect.
You know what, being able to bring guys on campus for the summer now,
Okay.
and being able to work with them, I thought that was a great move by the NCAA. It's made it tougher on us because it takes away some of our time. You know, but what it allows us to do is it allows them to go through the basketball struggle in the summertime while they don't have the academic struggle because they're only taking one class in the summertime. So they can go through the basketball struggle, the workouts, the lifting, conditioning, open gym, you know, those type of things, and they don't have the academic rigors at that time. And so they can learn how to work hard, they can learn kind of what it takes, get a glimpse of it. And then when they start the school year, they've already made that adjustment. We've kind of brought them through that. And now when the academic rigor hits, you know, it's a different battle that they're fighting. They're not necessarily fighting a basketball battle. So the breaking up of it in the summer and starting the school year, I feel it's really helped us be able to help our guys adjust.
Speaking of the academic component, there are new rules that are NCAA has just inserted in place recently that's going to affect some of your graduating classes. That's coming out. I know it affects the JUCO ranks immediately right now. And a lot of people aren't really aware of something. Can you elaborate and break down some of those new academic revisions that's taking place now?
Well, in order to obtain a scholarship, you still have to have a 2.0. But I think the biggest difference is now is if you have between the 2.0 and like right below a 2.3, then you're able to have a scholarship, but you're not able to compete the first year. So you have to redshirt the first year. So I think as colleges and as staffs, we have to make big decisions on whether we want to bring a kid in. If you have one scholarship left, if you have a prospect that's really talented, can you afford to bring them in if you just have a 2.1? And sit them out an entire year when he can't compete for that first year. So I think that's the biggest adjustment is for, a lot of kids, freshman year, sophomore year, when you don't know no better, you normally mess up. And I think for them to recover from their freshman year to their senior year is going to be tough because you have to have 10 core classes going into your 7th semester, which is the beginning of your senior year. So it's not going to be enough, I don't know how we can educate everyone that has the opportunity to play a Division I sport or even, play whatever sport it may be, but I think it has to be some kind of plan to where everybody at least knowledgeable about it.
And so what do you think is a way to get that plan out?
We talk about it as a staff and our compliance office, the directors, we communicate with our athletic directors. This is interesting because I think it has to be a plan by the NCAA to try to, I don't know what the answer is. I'm not going to sit here and try to say I have the answer, but it has to be a way where we can educate, high school counselors across the country and coaches and families about these rule changes because a lot of them just don't know, and this is a rule that's going to, drastically affect this 2016 class. And beyond. And I just like Coach Brooks said, they are in the past. We look at our team now. It may be half of the guys on our roster that would have been directly affected by this rule that may not be able to be at SMU right now. Taking advantage of the academic situation that we have there. Just because of the rule change. So we just got to try to find a way where we work together with the NCAA as institutions. And try to educate the high schools and prep schools and the parents and individuals associated with the prospects.
So what's the worst case scenario in regard to, if the word isn't out?
Just a little while ago, it was kind of a joke about how early we start recruiting kids and stuff. And some people, why you recruiting a 9th grader, why this and that, the other. Well, that's the reason why we start recruiting early, especially because of these changes in rules. There was one time in the NCAA where, freshmen weren't allowed to play, right? And that's because the rules were set up in such a way that they thought if these guys weren't allowed to play, they wouldn't go to college. You know, and then we were able to overcome that. These rules really affect kids that grow up in the inner city. Really the kids that don't have two parents at home who are educated and able to help them. Those kids who are on the outskirts and they're not locked into a well-informed AAU program and a coach who really cares about them, you know, to share that. And so then the rule changed to, well, okay, no, let's let them play because their first year, so it'll be so hard they'll flunk out. You know, and then we adapted to that. And then they started adding rules that said, okay, we have to have certain requirements to get in. And we've adapted to that. And then they raised the requirements, and now they're raising it again. And, you know, and I think over the course of time, we'll adapt to it, but I think the fact that we are guys who recruit kids early, we can get them the information early. And I think that's as much as it is the counselor's job, I think it's our job. It's our job to take a look at that transcript early. It's our job to take a look, to tell that high school coach, and what's going to be real important is that this summer, for 2016 kids, there's going to be a lot of them that don't need to be on the circuit. They need to be taking correspondence class, they need to be taking online, they need to be taking summer school at their school. They don't need to be traveling this summer in order to get those 10 core that are going to lock in. Because once they start their senior year, if they don't have 10 core, they can't get a scholarship. They can't have 9.5. They can't, there's no waiver for it. You know, and so that's our job to get that message out. And that's why starting to recruit kids early is so important. And getting involved, not just know them as players, but getting to understand them, their academics and their background and get the message across.
Well, just to piggyback on Coach Tang, I really believe that, you know, us being able to recruit them early is important, but we got to be able to communicate with them. And the way the rules are set up now, we can't have that communication prior to the sophomore year, June, I think it's 15th after their sophomore year. And with the rule changes, I think they should maybe possibly look at maybe revising that and allowing us to be able to communicate with them as, you know, as freshmen in high school, where we can talk to the parents and coaches and really try to really educate these kids. Because when we go to high school, we can't have any communication with them. You know, we can't call them on the phone. We're not allowed to do those things. So I think that's important. You know,
So if I were to ask you, if you could think of 2 rules that you would change, that would be one of them.
That definitely would be one.
And what would be the second?
You know, the second one would probably be, and I don't quote me because I don't know how.
Which means don't quote you.
I know. I don't want the viewers to quote me on this, but you know, Coach Hewitt, you know, is a mentor of mine. I'm head coach of George Mason. We were talking the other day about I would like basketball, our players, you know, to have the baseball rule, where they can declare for the NBA, they can get drafted, and then depending on where they get drafted, they can opt to come back to college. You know, because I think baseball players are able to make a very educated decision for their futures. Whereas our players, as basketball coaches, our players, we get such a short window to make an educated decision, a big decision, you know, and I think sometimes, you know, kids are, you know, viewed as not making an educated decision or, you know, not making the smart decision, but they don't have all the information. And it's such a hard and hasty decision that I think that's something that I would like the NCAA to really view and see if we can have the same rule that baseball has.
Now, what would be your 2 things? There are 2 rules you can change.
One rule I would like to change if I had the opportunity to do, we only get a chance to go out 130 days, recruiting days from now until April as a staff. And if you have 3 guys go out, it's counted as 3 days, but you only get to see 1 prospect 7 times. And I think if you only have 2 scholarships, I think you should be allowed to see wherever your 2 guys are, your top priority guys, as many times leading up to the 130. Because it's hard to outwork the next person when each one of you only have 7 times. So have unlimited times to see that kid, but you just can't go over the 130 recruiting days. That's one rule I would like to change. And the other rule would be just the academic part. As far as contacting younger kids, I don't think it needs to be unlimited because they're not as mature to handle a lot of college coaches contacting them. But maybe if you can't contact that kid, at least be able to contact their parent once a month to check on them academically to make sure that they're on track.
And those are two good rule changes.
So, yeah, really.
What about you, Coach Tank?
I would like to be able to evaluate the kids in April, May, June, and July, and do it in a shorter period of time. Because I believe July is way too long. We're talking 21 days where kids are traveling and they're not at home. Listen, I think if you can see one weekend in April, where you get to see them in one weekend in May and watch their development with their team, one weekend in June, maybe 1 or 2 weekends in July, that way, I think it allows us, because we can, just think about this, they gave us the opportunity to work with our kids in June and July in the summer school, our players that are on campus. But then they tell us we can go recruit in 20 whatever days in July. So we can work with our guys, but we also have to go out recruiting. And so it just seems to where robbing Peter to pay Paul kind of thing. I be able to work with our guys in June, take a weekend or 3 or 4 days and go evaluate prospects and then come back and work with you guys in July and go back out. And now the kids, when you see them, they're fresher. Those young kids who are traveling and they're not going from this tournament to that tournament, well, because these coaches are there. I think it makes for a better quality of the summer and watching these guys play.
So if that count as one, or that count as two rules changes?
That was like 3.
But I don't think, see, this is the thing, people change one rule and they don't realize how much it affects everything else.
Okay.
I think you have to take into account how it's going to affect everything else. And July, they changed the July recruiting for us, right? Okay, you can, but just think about how hard is it to leave Sunday evening to try and get home, and you get home late Sunday. On Monday, all you're doing is trying to figure out if any kids switch teams, because the next one, that don't even give you a 7-day advance purchase on your ticket if you want to, because stuff is going to change. So that's hitting your athletic budget as you're switching up what's going on. Those 2 days you're at home, you're trying to touch base with your players, but you got to leave on Wednesday morning, usually, in order to get there in time for 5 o'clock. So all the changes that were made, it was made without taking into effect how it affect all the other things. That's why I would, we had some input, but I like some more input in this. And I think you can keep fine tuning it as you go along and get a little bit better. I just think, I believe that the changes that were made were meant to benefit us as coaches and benefit the student athletes and the prospects. I believe now we could make some changes that could even help them move on.
Well, that's what we definitely 6 good rule changes we hope to see in the near future. Now this is the most fun part of this segment, and that is, this is a specially designed question for the youngest of the bunch.
Yeah, you just have to go down there with them.
I got an old soul now.
Okay, with your team again.
Go.
You go and you're traveling on, you have trips, you go out of town, you're on the bus. Who determines the playlist that goes, that you guys play on the team? Normally, I'm just curious.
On the bus?
Yeah.
We don't really ride. We don't do a lot of bus trips at SMU.
When you go out of town, you're on the bus.
We
go on the state.
But we do land.
Go ahead, you can tell them y'all charter.
We like to charter. We like to charter. But when we land and we have our nice,
the bus, with the satellites,
All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
So our guys, we don't really have music playing over the loudspeaker. Nah, the guys.
Because your boss, your head coach,
I don't think, if we were playing country music, he probably would be okay with that.
That's Lawrence Rook.
Garth Brooks,
he'd be okay with Garth Brooks.
He'd be okay with that, but He's not really.
So in the locker room.
So chubby checker.
Yeah,
yeah.
you know, if Jay-Z or, you know, Meek Mill came on, I don't know if Coach
So
Brown.
that, do you play in the locker room before the game?
They do.
So who determines that?
Our players.
So you don't have nothing to do with that?
We don't have anything to do with that.
So
Our players, they do that. I don't even know who does it. They give it to the manager. Like they let them know what we want to
so
do.
tell the truth. So some of the stuff.
Pre-game, they I don't know how they get what they want on there, but we just communicate with them and let them know that before Moody Magic starts, make sure these guys have the music they need so we can come out and
So tell the
perform
truth.
the way
So
we need
after
to
you
perform.
ever look over at you, they got the pre-game beats, going.
Yeah.
You looked over at your boss and saw him kind of like, yeah.
You know, I can hear the tunes.
So
You know,
I know it's your boss. You didn't see your boss feeling that rhythm.
I'm not no.
You
No,
ain't something
but now I've looked at our other assistant coaches. You know, I may look at KT and and kind of vibe with him a little bit. And kind of get it. I love game day.
So do you know any of the words that they play on the song?
Some of the songs.
So what just give me one. Give me
Some
one.
of the
So let's
songs,
play this game. Give me one. Give me one. Break me off a verse.
I don't know. I don't know if I can do a verse. I don't know if I can
Give
do
me
a
a
verse.
ball. Give me 2 balls.
Depending on the song. You gotta tell me.
What you mean? It's your pregame.
It's gonna change. We're gonna probably play a lot of them. We them
I know-
boys.
I know-
We them boys.
We them boys?
Wiz Khalifa.
How they go?
Don't act like you don't know.
We them boys.
Yeah.
We're making noise.
Holla.
Hold on. I didn't think y'all listened to that yet.
Hey,
Y'all listen to that music, baby?
of course, it's the clean version.
Oh, that don't.
So what?
The play is dirty, but the music is clean. Come on, man.
There you have it, guys. Of course. Hey, I told you we're gonna have a bunch of fun with the round table. Thanks on behalf of Coach Alvin Brooks, Uric Nolly, and Jerome Tang, and myself, Jim Hicks. Thanks guys for hanging with us tonight. Hope you got a lot from this segment. If you didn't, rewind, watch it again, and then you write your notes with those 2 highlighters that you let one of them fall on the floor. Pick it up, cut the TV on pause, off pause in a minute, but watch the round table again. You gotta watch this segment again. I'll see you guys next week. Hey, I'm gonna get them to sing some more than We Them Boys.